Hello, my name is Eric Evans with Surveyor Source. Today we're going to do a little bit more different of a video than we've done before. We've got our brand new Matrice M300 RTK system in. This is a bit of an unboxing video, but also a little bit of a product video. Spoiler warning, we have kind of unboxed everything and started things up and just gotten things going here a little bit just so we were familiar enough with it so we could put together a little video on it. We've got the Matrice unit here. It's got the H20 camera with it. The P1 camera, which we're really excited about, is on order, and there will be upcoming a L1 sensor for it that will be LiDAR, which will be very exciting. I've got the intelligent battery charging station. This is the first time I've used this particular station, so we'll go through it. Behind me, I've got the RTK system, or the RTK Base unit. It is a Matrice-specific one, although it looks very familiar. If you use the Phantom RTK version, it looks very similar. It's got very similar components to it. We'll start with the charging station. A few things we've kind of already gone through on it. It will charge 8 flight batteries, but also has ports for 4 of these smaller batteries. Now these batteries will go into the RTK Base. They're also the same batteries that go into the intelligent flight controller, which we'll get to in just a second. First thing we noticed about unboxing this is a warning here. It says this product needs to be activated with USB. Now read all the documentation that comes with both the charging station and the M300. It explains how to do that. Basically, we take the smart controller with a USB cable and hook it to the remote, or hook it to the battery station, and it goes through and activates and also installs firmware. It doesn't take very long to do that. Now, something to keep in mind when doing this is in the kit here, you've got the way to activate it that needs to be connected here. So one thing we did need to do was go through the controller and register it and set it up before we could get to the point where we were charging batteries. Now, there's a battery included in here, and there was enough power on it, just barely, to charge the controller enough to do that, to do the activation. Now, there was a way to charge the controller while it's on. There's a little USB port at the bottom, which we'll touch on in a second, where you could actually just charge it while it's going, so you can activate the case and charge the rest of the battery. So that was one of the first things we noticed about it. This charging station, though, is great. It's all automatic. We can put 8 batteries in, 4 batteries up here. It's got indicator lights that tell you what is charging and when it is fully charged. And you even get a little bar here on the bottom that shows you the charging to see how much battery is actually being charged for each battery that's getting charged. So you'll see the lights turn on when the battery is being charged, and then we'll tell you how much charge level it currently has. The only thing I've got complaint-wise about the case, you do need to keep, and again, read all your safety warnings. There's a lot of warnings here about the amount of power that this thing will draw. So you got to make sure you don't have it plugged into some surge protector with a bunch of stuff on the same outlet, and make sure it's a dedicated outlet. It seems to be just fine. We're able to charge all the batteries in just a usual outlet, nothing special about it. Also, this little cover here that protects the power cord, I have now twice tried to close the case with this in this position, and it makes a terrible noise and looks like it's going to break. So I'm not sure there's a good reason why that's there, but remember to put that up like this before you close the case again. That'll pretty much cover the charging station. All right, talk a little bit about the RTK base unit. If you use the Phantom RTK unit, this will look identical as far as I know it is. It does say specifically we're Matrice unit, so you can't just use your Phantom base apparently. Now this comes with 2 batteries that plug into the unit here. They're the same batteries that run the smart controller. We have one that came with the Matrice. We've got 2 that came with the RTK base, and we also ordered 2 more, so we had plenty of batteries to cover whatever we needed to do. Now, rarely, only during long missions, have I run the need to put more than 1 battery in here. You do have a limited life on this, maybe about 4 hours or so in my experience. Enough for most flights, but if you're doing a really long day, then having extra batteries is a really big plus. Now that setup also includes a tripod and a charger that will charge 2 of those batteries at the same time. You've got the 4 that you can do in here. You can actually charge your battery in the controller, so there's plenty of room and chargers for everything. You charge everything up at one time. All right, let's take a look at this, the Matrice M300. I was initially very impressed, or I was still very impressed with the case. Now, the case is different. The Phantom cases are kind of this foam, this hardened foam. This is actually a true, not quite Pelican, but almost Pelican type case. It's got a handle, it's got wheels on it, you can roll it around. Same thing with this also. It's also got a handle and wheels so you can roll it around if you need to travel like on a plane. All right, that is the unit there. A couple things we've noticed off the bat. Controller. This is my first time using this newer smart controller. I want to hold it like this, but actually it's a little different from, say, the Phantom series. A lot more like maybe a Matrice smart controller where the display is on the bottom and not the top, and the control sticks are on the top. That was a little initial getting used to. The battery compartment is in the back, and unlike the Phantom or most of the DJI series that I'm used to, there's no cover for the battery. The battery clips into place, but there's not a cover that then closes over it, which I kind of like. The one thing about it, there is an unlock button. And if you just touch on the lock button, the battery will fall out. So you gotta make sure you got a hand on the battery before you take it off, because I've already dropped one of these. The other thing that's interesting besides the kind of shape of it is these port covers on the top. The one for the USB apparently doesn't stick on. I've got to find it now because apparently it's missing. Other way know where it's at. So keep an eye on that, because if you accidentally drop that, it doesn't stick to the unit. So you've got to remember to not drop that and lose it. Well, this other one here does adhere, but it has a little tether to the actual controller, but it's kind of tough to get on. So this is probably not something you're going to use a lot, but just be careful of that. The other thing I noticed was, where's the antennas? It took me a second to realize that you flip them up from the back. I guess that's to save space. They're kind of flimsy looking, but they should obviously do the job. But just something that I noticed. The controls are actually very familiar if you're used to DJI products. Everything's more or less in the same spot. You got the customizable C buttons in the back. So everything's pretty similar. Now, what runs on here is not quite what I'm used to, say from the Crystal screen, unit that runs like on the Phantom 4. It's a little different. It runs the DJI Pilot app. Makes you run through the project registration. Now, something that needs to be very clearly stated is when you go in and put your DJI account information, the next warning that comes up that says you must, or this is the account that the unit is going to be activated to. And all warranty information and anything else that you would need for it is now under that account. So keep that in mind. The unit that she's activated is kind of the unit that it's going to be with. Now, we haven't tried to put another one in there. We'll get to that when we start doing some flying trials and things like that. But that was one thing I noticed right off the bat starting it up. Otherwise, it looks a little different from what I'm used to for the DJI Pilot app, but things are located basically in the same spot. So we haven't got a chance to get out, power it, fly it yet, but just kind of looking at the controller and kind of things that we're used to when looking at DJI products. It's just a little bit different, so it might take a little bit getting used to. All right, the unit itself comes with a ton of documentation, but like only about the first 10 pages are actually in English. The rest of this is just different languages. But read that, follow all the safety instructions as usual. We've got the camera. Now this is the H20, like we said. I said at the beginning of the video, the P1 is what we're looking forward to. But this is a very good camera for photogrammetry still. The mounting system is pretty similar, I think, to what other DJI gimbals would use. You have a little cap here. There's also a matching one on the Matrice itself. Now, one thing it took me a second to realize is there's a release button toward the back here that actually releases this out. Now, there's kind of a forward and back to it. You can see one of the prongs is a little longer than the other, so there's a little slot to kind of map that out. Other things in the box, you've got a lanyard for the controller itself. The unit is actually upside down. There is a set of instructions for installing landing gear, which is something we need to go through and try. I like this little pouch that contains kind of all the cables and everything in one spot. Something about the old Phantom cases was you end up with all these cables that kind of ended up toward the bottom of the case, whereas they give you this nice little zip pouch where you can locate them all easily and kind of put them away because you don't really use them a lot. Otherwise, let's take the unit out of the box here and see if there's anything else that we should likely mention out of it. It is definitely a bit bigger than the Phantom series. Eventually we'll do a product video and go through all the sensors and controls and things like that. But for now, we just wanted to do a basic unboxing and get you an idea of what the unit would look like. Now the battery compartment is 2 batteries at a time to run the unit, and they both slot in there and clip in there. The unit doesn't come with batteries, so you've got to kind of manage that yourself. Now we ordered 6 batteries, but the case will actually fit 8, so 8 might be a good number to think about when you're thinking about ordering batteries. As far as the case goes, there seems to be a lot of room for extras. It looks like you got a little bit of room here to put in a couple batteries in this case, although you'll probably end up taking this with you in the field, I would imagine. It's an extra spot for a separate controller. I guess really the only application there is if you've got a separate camera operator who wanted to run the camera. Other than that, the case is, again, it's a nice case. It's efficient, not terribly big, but I'm pretty impressed with the fact that it comes with this case and that you don't need to order it separately. So stay tuned for more videos. We'll do a little bit more on the controller of the unit flying. We'll have some flying videos here at some point. But this is kind of just our basic first run through on the Matrice M300 RTK.